Good morning, boys and girls. I'm so excited to read the chapter 2 of Junie B. Jones' Cheater Pants. I remember when we left off, Junie B. Jones had actually peeked over at May's homework and copied her answers. Mr. Scary doesn't know yet, but I wonder what's going to happen. Chapter 2, Weekend Fund. May got back from the office. She stood at the door and waved again. I did it, everyone. I got the attendance sheet to the office, just like I promised. She looked at Mr. Scary. It went very well, too, she said. There was no problems I couldn't handle. Mr. Scary raised his eyes from what he was doing. Okay, well, thank you, May. You can take your seat now, please, he said. But May kept right on talking. At first, I didn't know where to put it, but then the secretary told me to put it in the wire basket, so I followed her directions perfectly. Mr. Scary pointed to her seat. Excellent, he said. Now please sit down, okay? May didn't pay attention again. When I was in kindergarten, I got an E plus for following directions, she said. E plus is better than excellent because the plus sign means extra, extra excellent. Just then, Mr. Scary stood up and he took May's hand and he walked her to her seat. As soon as he went back to his desk, I strained my brains for something nice to say to her because I was still happy for May for leaving her homework out. Finally, I tapped on her arm and I smiled. Welcome back, madame, I said, real friendly. May did a frown at me. What kind of crap was that? She said. I just looked at her. Friendly doesn't come natural for us, I think. Pretty soon, Mr. Scary stood up at his desk, and he walked to the board and he wrote these words. This weekend, one thing I did for fun was... Okay, everyone, he said. For your homework over the weekend, I asked you to complete this sentence. Remember? Room 1 nodded. Good, said Mr. Scary, because this morning I would like each of you to read your homework paper to the class. That way we'll find out what our classmates do for enjoyment. Doesn't that sound fun? Here's Mr. Scary with his message. This weekend, one thing I did for fun was... And that was the homework. Now remember, Junie B. Jones copied what May wrote. I wonder who's going to go first, Junie B. Jones or May. And what's going to happen? Room 1 nodded again. Even if it didn't sound like fun, you still have to nod. Mr. Scary smiled. Well, go up and down each row until everyone gets a turn. He pointed at Lucille. Lucille, why don't you start us off, he said. Lucille sits in the front row by the window. Last year, me and her were bestest friends. This year, we're just regular friends. Lucille stood up and fluffed herself, and she picked up her paper, and she started to read. This weekend, one day I did for fun was, my Richie Nana took me to an expensive beauty salon, and both of us got manicures and pedicures. Mr. Scary looked surprised at that news. You got a pedicure, Lucille? Wow, that's pretty fancy stuff, isn't it? He said. Lucille shrugged her shoulders. For some people, maybe, she said. She looked down and kept on reading. Also, we got a papaya fruit facial, and Nana got a herbal body wrap, plus I got a seaweed scalp massage. Mr. Scary stood there for a second. Then he nodded real slow. Alrighty then, he said. After that, he pointed to Camille. Camille is a sister of Chenille. Those two are twin sets. Camille stood up. This weekend, Chenille and I made a puppet theater out of a cardboard box, and we put on a show for our little brother Neil. Mr. Scary beamed at that news. Oh, that's great, girls, he said. I bet doing a puppet show for your brother was a lot of fun, wasn't it? Not really, said Camille. Neil kept grabbing the puppets off of her hands, and he made them kill each other. We don't like Neil, said Chenille. Neil is a poopy head, said Camille. Mr. Scary just stood there some more. Then finally he moved on to Roger. Roger was the best one so far. This weekend, one day I did for fun was, I went to get pizza with my dad, and I ate a whole entire anchovy, and I didn't throw up until I was almost home. If you don't know what an anchovy is, it's a really stinky, smelly fish topping some people like on pizzas. I'm not a big fan of it, but maybe you might know somebody that is. Room 1 clapped and clapped for that amazing story. And so there is, so sorry, I forgot, Roger telling a story about eating the pizza with an anchovy on it, and he didn't throw up till he was almost home. Ooh, I would want to share that fact with my class. Mr. Scary was right. It was fun to learn what our classmates did on the weekend. I couldn't wait for it to be my turn because I love to talk in front of the class, of course. Plus, all I had to do was tell about my weekend, and Mr. Scary would think I did my homework. I put the paper I copied from May into my desk. I didn't need it after all, because what do you know? Today, I lucked out. And that's the end. We'll see what's going to happen next when Junie B. Jones tells about what she did over the weekend and if they're going to make a connection to what she's saying wasn't the same of what she wrote down. Chapter 3 is called Twitching. When you twitch, you're just kind of moving, and sometimes it's because you're nervous. I wonder if Junie B. Jones has any reason that she might be nervous. Can you make a connection? Can you think about a time that you had to talk and you were feeling very nervous about what you had to say? Maybe you had to let mommy and daddy know that you didn't make a good choice and maybe something happened as a result of that. I love you all so much. Thanks for tuning in and listening to Miss Alston read another chapter. I miss you all so much. Sending big virtual hugs, and I'll see you all real soon.